Hey guys, Dilby here. Welcome back to the channel. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to export your files for mastering or mixing. This is a pretty simple process, but if you don't know, then you don't know. So I think this could be a really valuable video for anyone who's starting out and getting their first tracks released. It's important that you know these things for when you're writing, because it's important to keep them in mind so that you don't cause problems for yourself later. I've put together a little beat for the video, which is available to download. There's a link in the description, so check it out. The track you heard in the intro and the one that's playing in the background now is my new remix for Danny Serrano, which is out now on 8-bit. Let me know in the comments what you think. One more thing to mention, as it's Black Friday, or Black Month as it seems to be these days, House of Loop are having a big sale with 50% off all packs, and that includes my sample pack, Underground Shades of House. So if you want to pick that up for cheap, there's a link in the bio to House of Loop, you can grab that. Now let's jump into Ableton and get this thing done. Alright guys, so here we are inside Ableton and I've put together a bit of a loop just to demonstrate this. Nothing fancy, but let's check it out. So a cool little deep vibe. If you like the sound of that, there's a link in the description. It's already available on Patreon to download. But what we're going to be discussing today is about how to export a master and files for mixing. First of all, let's get onto the master. So when I'm mixing a track, I always use limiting. The reason I use a limiter is because it gives me a better idea of how the track is going to sound when it's finally mastered. It leaves out a bit of the guesswork. But when you send your track to a mastering engineer, you don't want to have limiting or compression on the master channel. So what I have here is my kind of master chain. I've got it in a group, so that means I can just turn that off and it's ready to send. This bypasses the limiter, the compressor, any other plugins that I use, like I use SonarWorks, and I don't want that to be applied to the master file. So this is a really easy way to make sure all of those things are just turned off when I export it. The next key thing that you need to keep in mind is that there's enough headroom. Modern mastering, whether it's digital or analog, is generally done through a DAW, and with that they're going to be able to adjust the volume. So what we really need to do is make sure that there's no clipping happening. A good rule of thumb is that you want to bounce it out with about -6 dB. Well, how do we get that? So when I'm mixing and writing, I have a gain plugin on my master. This is pushing everything up by 7 dBs. This means when everything is coming out at 0 dB, I can just turn off this gain plugin and I get 7 dBs of headroom, which is plenty for sending out the master. You can do it in a number of different ways, but I recommend building in some kind of headroom into your template like that. It makes life so much easier. So once you're sure you've got the headroom, then it's time to export the file. What we're going to do is go File, then we click Export Audio Video. That will bring up this dialog box. We want to click here, Encode PMC on, file type WAV, AIF, FLAC, doesn't really matter. I go with WAV, it's the industry standard. You want to go 24-bit, and dithering, I leave it on the default triangular. The sample rate should be left at what you're working at, and the kind of default or industry standard is 44.1 kilohertz. We're going to make sure that master is selected here on the rendered track, then we hit export, and save. So if you're exporting stems for a mixdown, the process is quite similar. You want to take off everything on your master, but there's a few more steps that we need to go through. Firstly, it's really important for the mixing engineer that you go through and name all of your channels. So we can see here everything's named with meaningful names that explains what they are, what type of element they are, and gives a little description. Okay, so here I've got a track that's got no information on it. When I export these stems, it's going to export this track with silence, which makes the project larger and just creates an extra step of work for the mixing engineer. So we're just going to delete that track. So we've made sure that everything's named and we've gotten rid of any silent or unused tracks. in here, I'll just delete this and this as well. Then we again go File, Export, same settings as mastering, but in this rendered track option drop down, we're going to select all individual tracks. We hit export. Now when you export this, it's going to give the file name plus the name of each track. So this can get quite long. What I like to do is give an abbreviation here. So EFM, then I put a space, hyphen, space, and then Ableton will add on the track name after that so that each file is named correctly. Save and export. So there you go, nice, quick, simple, easy one, and now you've got everything you need in order to get your files mixed or mastered. Alright guys, there you go. Hopefully that was helpful. I remember when I was starting out, some of these things just aren't that obvious. So I felt it was really important to get this video out there and offer some guidance to the people who are kind of up and coming and new to the game. These are things you're going to need to know when you're getting your first tracks released, or any tracks released. If you're looking for more videos on mixing and mastering, then check out this one about how to get your kick and bass sounding tight and punchy. Alright guys, that's it from me today. We'll catch you next time. Peace!